Hey guys, welcome to day 5 of the GTO trainer. Today we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to be doing verse a open. So first spot in the big blind with 9-6 suited versus an under the gun open of 2 big blinds. We're going to elect a call here, given that we are priced in getting very good pot odds to call. On a 9-6-4 board, we've got top 2. We could, I reckon, go bet 1.5. Try to get value from a lot of overpairs. Very dry static board, so overpairs are going to feel as though they're very good, and we get raised on the flop, so we're going to be putting him mostly on an overpair, most likely. Sets potentially, like pocket nines is probably the only set here. So we're just going to elect a call. Ace coming on the turn, that's going to favor the under the gun range heavily. With that given, I'm going to go with a very large bet. And there's no solution for that. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay, well, looks like we're just restarting from the beginning, I guess. So yeah, elect a call. Same flop. Gonna elect a check this time. We get a check back, so that's why I don't reckon we should be checking there. Because they would be checking with a lot of their ace highs, a lot of their king highs, a lot of their overpair. Well, they wouldn't be checking much with their overpairs potentially, but get some more value from ace highs and king highs on the flop rather than the turn, I believe. But now we'll let... Okay. I'm getting too caught up on what's a good move and what's a bad move. I'm kind of playing like an idiot at the moment. When an ace and a king rolls off, I'd assume an overbet. And they fold? Okay. Alright. Let's have a look here. So we got call pre-flop, correct. So they say we should be checking. Under the gun checks back. They're saying we should check a 4th time on a car and the ace. That should be hitting the under the gun's range. Or an overbet. I would much prefer the overbet, thinking that it's targeting ace high or ace highs that have now hit their ace potentially. I go for bad sizing then, and they recommend just more of a pot size rather than... So yeah, I reckon I would much rather go big bet, or at least minimum a decent sized bet on the flop, and then probably another big bet on the ace hits, thinking that now they're going to have top pairs a lot of the time, but then, yeah, okay, potentially their overpairs might have been counterfeited. That's the reason why I reckon we should be going for value on the flop, so that all those overpairs like 10s and up don't get counterfeited by any overcards coming, which is essentially what happened versus queens here, when an ace and a king have peeled off, and then queens is pretty much going to fold there all the time, just not thinking that they're going to be good the majority of the time, which... Granted, they probably should be thinking that they're good, believing that we could be doing this with just a 9, thinking an ace or a king is good in a lot of situations, purely because we're not going to hit an ace and we're not going to hit a king, and our top of range is mostly just 9x. Potentially sets as well, and then 2 pairs like we have. So I reckon, in all honesty, queens should probably be calling there anyways, with the impression that we're not going to be calling pre-flop much with ace-x. Well, I guess actually we are, because the big blind's essentially calling with anything. If we have a look at... what was it? If we go all the way to big blind here, if we go down to here... So yeah, we're calling with pretty much all of our suited aces are calling. Some are raising a little bit. And then even some ace offs as well. Even ace 5 off is raising at a small frequency. But yeah, we are calling. We have far more combos of our suited connecty type of things, or suited face cards than we do an ace. So we're most likely not going to be hitting it. And when we do hit it, it's going to be a very weak variation of it. And we're most likely going to get out kicked, so we're probably not going to be going for value. Or at least we shouldn't be going for value, so under the gun should feel pretty confident there, even with an underpair. But we'll move on to the next hand. I reckon, yeah, there was just a lot played there poorly. That is reflected in pretty much all this. Yeah, definitely didn't play that well at all. Facing the under the gun open on the button with 7-5. I reckon this is a call. Evidently not. I take a flop of ace 10-6. That's going to favor the under the gun range very heavily. The reason why I elected for a call was these suited gappers play really well when you're decently deep and you have position. But when the board comes ace high, which just slams their range, even if they do have an underpair, so we're just going to check back here. And it says that we just don't have a solution for this, which is the issue. And when they bet 1.8, we're just kind of folding on this situation. But yeah, so they're saying wrong move, should have been folding that. If we have a look over at what graph we're looking at here. So they're saying, yeah, so 7-6 is in there, 6-5, are more suited, rather than, correction, more, there's some suited gappers in there. We got 9-7, we got 8-6, 7-5 is missed. Do you see how is, so we got 5-3, we got 5-3, we got 6-4, but then we skipped 7-5, and then we got 8-6, 9-7. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me, that we just randomly skipped over the 7-5. Which doesn't really make too much sense, but yeah, this range does check out for me. I would have thought there would maybe be a little bit more suited connectors in there, but I guess we are still up against a very strong under the gun range, and I guess the reason why the big blind is different is due to the increased pot odds, due to already having money in there. Move on to the next hand, facing a low jack open, pocket sevens on the big blind. I reckon this would be a raise. Nope. You get re-raised and that's just a fold. Okay, so that should have just been a call. If we have a look at the rate, yeah, we're mostly just kind of calling with everything, it seems. Really only raising with top left type of shit. And then we're pretty much calling with everything on the big blind. Okay, copy. Under the gun open in the small blind with 10-8 offsuit, standard fold. There we go, finally got a best move in there. Facing under the gun +2 open, we've got pocket queens, raise that up. Cut off folds around back to the undergun who calls. King Jack 3. So that's gonna, we have range advantage here, granted so did they. Well, they also hit this board well, but we have range advantage given that we are the only people that can have kings. We're the only ones that have jacks, although they might be calling the 3-bet with jacks sometimes, but we're the only one that can have kings. We're the only one that can have ace king. So I will elect us probably around 1/3. They call. So right now we're ranging them on maybe king low kicker, jack, possibly our hand as well with pocket queens. 7's very inconsequential. They most likely don't have a flush draw, you would have to think. So they've checked once again. I reckon we'll check back. And they bet 8.5. I reckon we just elect a call, thinking that if we raise, we're just kind of getting called by better. And it turns out they have ace king, which is slightly interesting given that... when was it? So if we go all the way over here, just before the flop, it's interesting that the under the gun. So yeah, so okay, I guess ace king off in some capacity, I guess. But I would have thought. Hang on. So if we come around to, so that's saying that sometimes you should be folding ace king off under the gun +2. Facing a hijack 3-bet and you should fold ace king 60% of the time? That seems a little bit weird. Does it not? Because I know because they can't have ace king. Or they can't have like a real strong ace king, I guess. Well, they can't have ace king suited because that would be a mandatory 4-bet you would have to think. Same with aces, same with kings. But I would have thought that ace king off would still be a standard minimum call rather than a 60% fold. But I guess the theory is that if hijack's 3-betting you under the gun range, they've got something really, really strong. Has to be the thinking. And I guess, they're thinking ace king off is not in good position, when in reality it's a 50-50 in this situation. But I kind of understand the idea. So they're saying, so we should have c-bet for... So when was this? So they're saying I should have done pretty much 1/5 pot rather than 1/3 pot. So just a sizing error, I guess. Moving on to the next hand, cutoff open. We've got ace 10 on the button. I reckon this is a fold. Okay. So they would elect 3-betting, which also just makes a lot of sense, I guess. I would have thought would rather more ace 10 suited. I can definitely hear the standard 3-bet there. On the big blind versus the hijack, I reckon this is a call. 9-5-3, that's going to favor our big blind defense. We have far more 9x, far more flush draws than they do. But we're going to check and flow, see what they do. They bet 1.8 with 2 overcards. I'll elect a call. King peels off. That's going to really favor their range. We're going to check once again. When they go about half pot, we're just going to fold there. So on the flop, they say we should have just folded straight away to the c-bet. My thinking was in terms of ace highs might have given up, but evidently they had a 9. What that ace highs would give up, thinking they have showdown value, and then they might show some weakness, and we might be able to bluff them off, or we could hit a queen or a 10. That I think would be very confidently a overpair. Well, sorry, the top pair. Although we might get outkicked with a queen. So I can definitely see just the standard fold, or ace standard fold versus that c-bet there. But I just figured in terms of that's hit our range far better, and we've got 2 overcards. But yeah, I can definitely 8-4 standard fold. King 4 facing an under the gun open standard fold. We're going to be outkicked in a lot of situations. Our top pair is not going to be good, as we are shown just there. So there's the end of day 5. Pretty bad day, mostly headlined by just some poor pre-flop and post-flop play, really, just overall. So what have we got? Can I see the whole thing? There we are. So yeah, calling, should have just folded the 7-5 on the button. 9-6 hand, good call pre-flop, good check, but then on the turn we should be checking there again. I'm guessing just to try to induce a bluff from overcards, under pairs, I'm guessing, or just keeping in a lot of air, or overbetting rather than just doing kind of a feeler bet, I guess, more of a stab type of thing, or do an overbet trying to target the ace-x, which kind of makes a lot of sense to me. And then they're saying more of an underbet there, so I guess the idea is do a more overbet on the turn to set up a far bigger river bet, which, once again makes sense to me. Sevens, what's it called? Should have just folded. No, was it? Yeah, so what is it? Yes, so should have just called. Should have just called pre-flop. So yeah, got to adjust my big blind defense range, and it seems that we're calling a lot more than raising from the big blind. I'm guessing just in terms of we don't really want to get into a bloated pot unless we do have an extremely strong hand, given that we're going to be having to act first, which makes a lot of sense. 10-net hand was pretty fine. The queen's hand, so they're saying here, so yeah, just a smaller sizing in a 3-bet pot, 1/5 instead of about 1/3 or 1/4. So I'm guessing just pot control sizing, and then protecting yourself against the king X that's in the under the gun +2 range. Makes sense. Ace 10, kind of like a, what is it, 30-70 in terms of whether or not you should 3-bet or fold. Pretty fine there. The Queen 10 hand, standard big blind defend. Checking. Saying that the call was, and then we should have just folded to the C-bet. Which makes sense. I get, we don't really have any backdoors. We don't have any equity. Although we do, we do. So I'm basing it off what they had when really just be basing them off their range. But I'm thinking in terms of their range, there is a lot more just high cards that if we, granted, if we hit our queen, we might get into some trouble. But I reckon they might perceive that board does, it hits our big blind defense range far more than it hits them. We're gonna have far more combos of suited. We're gonna have far more combos of 9x, even some more 5x as well. That can put ace high, king high, queen high into bad situations. And I figured that we had some equity to rely on in terms of if we hit our queen or we hit our 10. But I definitely can understand just a fold there. Folding to the C-bet makes sense. And then the last two hands were just both standard folds to an open. Well, I hope you guys learned something. I think I learned a little bit. We're definitely going to be doing this type of format from now on, where we pick something that we're going to work on for that day, do that, and then do a different one every single day, and until we eventually work back to this one, and we'll do that again. Beauty, so have a good one, take care, and play well.